while we're on the discussion of comedy in the 1950s, let's run into a quick history on comedy and what it looked like in the 1950s. When Bob Newhart really started to dip his toe into the profession, because it is a very different world than what would have been happening just maybe 5 or 6 years prior to his decision to get into this field. So let me give you several comedians here that are on your screen, and we'll start with the top left. Top left, we have Shelley Berman. To the right of him, we have Mort Sahl, and then to the right of Mort Sahl, we have Jonathan Winters. Along the bottom left-hand side of your screen, we have Lenny Bruce, Dick Gregory, and then we have the team of Mike Nichols and Elaine May, and of course Bob Newhart in color there above me. So in the late 1950s, as I was alluding to just a second ago, Bob Newhart is really entering American stand-up comedy at an explosive time. On June 13th of 1959, Time magazine runs an article entitled "The Sicknicks." In short, this article was labeling the humor of all of these people that we just went through as sick. And that was because they were telling in their stand-up acts Freudian jokes. They were talking about, for example, airline pilots throwing out passengers to lighten the load. So making these, tragic situations comedic. They talked about having graduate schools for dope addicts or drug addicts at the time. There were also attacks, especially from like Lenny Bruce, on the Catholic Church, on sainthood, those sorts of things that would have been considered pretty taboo at this particular time, and definitely the years leading up to this. So the author of this article about the sicknicks writes that it's a virus, and this virus is spreading. And the comics are cleaning up. In other words, they're making loads of money in nightclubs, spewing all of this kinds of comedy. And because of this, they're going to start making their way into TV and on records. So let you listen to Bob Newhart on the matter, talking a little bit about this time from Time magazine and this article specifically.
Time magazine at one point lumped us kind of all together and called us the sick comedians because of the subject matter that we were dealing with.
All right, so that's from 2009. It's a documentary that's quite good called The Groundbreakers. But in the next part of that clip, he's telling you that they called us the sick comedians, right, because of what we were discussing. But in the next part of that clip, Shelley Berman, who's again at the top left-hand side of your screen right now, he says that the group is also referred to in this manner as the cerebral comedians. And that really is a term that describes Bob Newhart's comedy as well as Shelley Berman's comedy, and I would point out, Elaine May and Mike Nichols. So cerebral comedians, a little bit more descriptive for their comedy versus Lenny Bruce, for example. In fact, in 1960, a newspaper describes Bob Newhart's style in this manner. His touch is subtle but never sick. And Newhart himself personally says, "I've never done an outrageously raunchy joke on stage. I don't feel comfortable with shock for shock's sake."